My credit card hit $0. And payroll was due in 2 hours. I remember staring at the notification on my phone as if it had to be wrong. The screen glowed in the dim light of my office. Available credit, $0. For a moment I thought the app had frozen. I refreshed it. Same number. 0. Not negative. Not pending. Just, gone. I leaned back slowly in my chair and looked across the empty conference room. 34 employees were depending on me. Engineers. Analysts. Designers. People with mortgages. People with rent due next week. People who trusted the company I built. Payroll was scheduled to process at noon. It was 10:03 a.m. I had 117 minutes left. My name is Daniel Mercer. 5 years ago I started a fintech analytics company in New York City. Back then it was just me, a laptop, and an idea about how small investment firms could track market exposure faster. The first year was chaos. The second year nearly killed the company. The third year things finally started working. By the fourth year we had clients across 3 states. This year we were supposed to scale. But scaling costs money. Office space. Developers. Servers. Legal compliance. Insurance. Everything hits the balance sheet before revenue catches up. And for the last 3 months, our biggest client had been delaying payments. At first it was a week. Then 2 weeks. Then 30 days. Yesterday the payment was still processing. Meanwhile, payroll never waits. It arrives exactly when the calendar says it will. And this morning, every dollar in our operating account had already been used. I stood up and walked toward the glass wall overlooking Midtown Manhattan. Traffic moved slowly below. Yellow taxis sliding through wet pavement. People rushing to meetings that probably felt important. But right now none of them mattered. Because my company had exactly $0 left. And payroll was due in less than 2 hours. I walked back to my desk and opened the company dashboard. Operating balance. $4,312.19. Not enough. Payroll today required $118,400. Benefits processing would add another $12,000. Taxes were automatic. Everything triggered the moment payroll executed. If the system tried to pull funds and the account was empty, the entire batch would fail. And when payroll fails, employees notice immediately. Phones start buzzing. Slack channels explode. People start asking questions. Questions lead to panic. Panic leads to resignations. A company can survive bad months. But it cannot survive losing trust. My phone vibrated. It was Rachel. Our head of operations. I answered. Morning, she said. Payroll confirmation comes through at 11, right? I swallowed. Yeah, I said. Good, she replied. Just checking. Some people asked this morning because the bank system was slow yesterday. I forced a calm tone. Everything's on schedule. We hung up. The silence in the office felt heavier after that. I opened the credit card app again. The same message stared back at me. Available credit, $0. That card had been the last emergency buffer. I'd used it before when client payments lagged. Normally I would float payroll through the card and pay it off once invoices cleared. But last week the credit limit had quietly tightened. Apparently the bank had noticed our utilization rising. They lowered the available credit overnight. No warning. No call. Just a number turning to 0. I rubbed my eyes and looked back at the payroll dashboard. Status, scheduled. Execution, 12 p.m. Time remaining, 1 hour 41 minutes. My chest tightened. Running a company teaches you a strange skill. You learn how to stay calm while everything quietly collapses. Because panic doesn't fix numbers. Only decisions do. I opened my contact list. There were exactly 4 people who might be able to help. The first was a venture investor who had passed on our last funding round. The second was a private lender who specialized in bridge financing. The third was an old college friend working at a hedge fund. The fourth was someone I had hoped never to call again. Victor Lang. 3 years ago Victor had offered to invest in the company. At the time his terms felt aggressive. Too aggressive. He wanted board control. Special liquidation rights. Operational oversight. I turned him down. Politely. Victor smiled when I declined. Then he said something I never forgot. Every founder says no the first time, he told me. They call back when the clock starts ticking. I stared at his name in my contacts. Then I locked the phone and set it down. Not yet. There were still other options. I opened my laptop and logged into the bank portal again. Sometimes incoming wires appear late. Sometimes processing delays resolve suddenly. Sometimes luck shows up when you need it most. The screen loaded. Operating account balance remained the same. $4,312.19. No new deposits. No pending wires. Nothing. I checked the client invoice again. Status, payment processing. Expected arrival, unknown. I leaned forward, elbows on the desk, and pressed my fingers against my temples. New York outside the window kept moving. Inside the office everything felt frozen. The clock on my laptop flipped to 10:29 a.m. 1 hour and 31 minutes left. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. The coffee machine hummed softly as it brewed. My hands felt slightly unsteady as I poured the cup. Payroll. $118,000. I had spent 5 years building this company. Hiring people carefully. Convincing them to leave safe jobs and join a startup. Promising stability. Promising growth. Promising that we were building something real. And now the entire thing might collapse because one payment was late. My phone buzzed again. A Slack notification. Someone in engineering had posted a GIF about Payday Friday. The team chat exploded with laughing reactions. I stared at the screen. Then I muted the channel. I walked back into my office and sat down slowly. The payroll dashboard refreshed automatically. Execution window approaching. Time remaining, 1 hour 12 minutes. My heart beat a little faster. I opened the investor contact again. 4 names. 4 possible calls. But every call came with a cost. Investors don't save companies for free. They save them for leverage. And leverage during a crisis can reshape everything. Ownership. Control. Decision power. One desperate phone call could change the company forever. The phone vibrated again. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Daniel Mercer. A calm voice responded. Daniel. Victor Lang. My grip tightened on the phone. I was wondering when you'd call, he said. I didn't, I replied. Victor chuckled softly. Not yet, he said. But payroll day has a way of making people reconsider old conversations. A cold sensation moved through my chest. How do you know about payroll? I asked. Daniel, Victor said patiently, this city runs on information. I stood up slowly. What do you want? Victor didn't hesitate. I want to help. Silence filled the office. Finally I spoke. How much? Enough to cover payroll, he said. And what do you want in return? Victor paused. Just a short meeting, he said. Today. My eyes moved toward the payroll dashboard. Time remaining, 54 minutes. Where? I asked. My office, Victor replied. 47th floor. Midtown. I looked at the clock. Getting there would take 20 minutes. Maybe 25 with elevators. What happens if I say no? I asked. Victor's voice stayed calm. Then payroll will fail, he said. The silence stretched between us. Finally he added one more sentence. And once employees stop trusting payroll, companies tend not to recover. I knew he was right. Bring your laptop, Victor said. Then the line went dead. I stood there holding the phone. The city outside the window looked exactly the same. Traffic. People. Buildings. Everything moving like nothing had changed. But inside my office the clock kept counting down. Payroll execution window approaching. Time remaining, 46 minutes. I grabbed my jacket and laptop. The elevator ride downstairs felt longer than usual. My reflection in the mirrored walls looked calm. But my hands were clenched. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. I flagged a taxi and slid into the back seat. Midtown, I said. The driver nodded and pulled into traffic. Cars crawled through the streets while my eyes stayed locked on the clock. 10:42 a.m. Payroll deadline, noon. Every red light felt personal. Every slow lane felt intentional. My chest felt tight. By the time the taxi stopped outside Victor's building, it was 11:03 a.m. 57 minutes left. The lobby was quiet and polished. Glass floors. Steel railings. Security desk near the elevators. Victor's name was already on the visitor list. The receptionist handed me a badge. 47th floor. The elevator doors closed with a soft mechanical click. As the numbers climbed higher, my phone vibrated again. Rachel. I answered. Hey, she said. Quick question. Yeah. The payroll processor just sent the pre-authorization request. My throat tightened. And it needs confirmation in the next 30 minutes, she said. The elevator doors opened. Victor's assistant was already waiting. Mr. Mercer, she said calmly. He's expecting you. Rachel's voice continued through the phone. Daniel. I forced my voice steady. I'll handle it, I said. The assistant led me down a long hallway toward a glass conference room. Inside, Victor Lang sat at the table. A single folder rested in front of him. The assistant closed the door behind me. Victor gestured to the chair. Good timing, he said. I sat down slowly. How much? I asked again. Victor slid the folder across the table. Bridge funding, he said. Immediate wire. I opened the folder. Inside was a contract. Short. Clean. 5 pages. But the terms on the first page made my chest tighten. Investment amount, $200,000. Equity conversion rights. Board seat control. Emergency operational oversight clause. I looked up slowly. This gives you control of the company. Victor leaned back slightly. It gives me protection, he said. I flipped through the pages. The clause near the end caught my attention. If payroll failure risk occurs. I stopped reading. My pulse was louder now. Victor, I said quietly. You've been watching the company. Victor didn't deny it. I watch opportunities, he replied. My phone vibrated again. Rachel. 11:17 a.m. 43 minutes left. Victor tapped the table gently. The wire can be sent within minutes, he said. My eyes moved between the contract and the clock. The pen on the table felt heavier than it should have. Victor leaned forward slightly. Daniel, he said calmly, your employees get paid today. He slid the pen closer to me. All you have to do is sign.